To bring in our panel on this, we have NewsNation political contributor Kurt Bardella and former RNC spokeswoman Elizabeth Pipko. Welcome both. Elizabeth, why don't we start with you? Was calling the National Guard really essentially over Newsom's head the right move for President Trump to make, or is that behind some of the escalation we're seeing today?
No, I think when you look at what's going on here, it's kind of hard to say that it was the wrong move. The fact is, people that are claiming this is mostly peaceful are either not looking at the facts or in complete denial, because the fact is the videos that I've seen are completely terrifying. And President Trump was elected to be the president of the entirety of the United States of America. And California's citizens are in danger. Obviously, our law enforcement is in danger. When you look at what's going on, I think the only obvious response would be calling in the National Guard, especially when you have local leadership that doesn't want to take action. And I would assume, based on the results of the last election and based on what I have heard from Americans around the country, most would agree with President Trump's actions to try to save one of our most beautiful states, which is California.
I mean, Kurt, do you agree? And it is relatively unprecedented. This is the first time since 1992 that the National Guard has been federalized. Was this the right move?
I'm of the mindset that if the state leadership and the city leadership says they don't need that help, they don't require that assistance, then it should be left to governors and mayors. I'm one of those people who was Republican back in the day because I believed in local control, state control, that the federal government should have the smallest footprint possible. And Republicans oftentimes, when they have policies that they don't want to deal with, say, well, the state should decide. We should punt this to the states. Now, all of a sudden, when they think it's a politically advantageous issue like immigration, which frankly it is, they're all about nationalizing. They're all about federalizing. So there's a bit of a inconsistency in what belongs to the states and what doesn't. If the governor and the mayor are saying, yeah, we don't need this right now, you should respect that state sovereignty. I don't understand why the president's taken this unprecedented action, other than he thinks the politics and the optics work for him, which frankly they do.
Elizabeth, I want to play quickly Democratic and progressive lawmakers sounding the alarm over this activation. We have a clip from Senator Bernie Sanders, and then we have President Trump's response. Let's take a listen.
We have a president who is moving this country rapidly into authoritarianism. This guy wants all of the power. He does not believe in the Constitution. He does not believe in the rule of law. My understanding is that the governor of California, the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, did not request the National Guard, but he thinks he has a right to do anything he wants.
Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart like it was under Biden.
Okay, Elizabeth, any credence to Sanders' claims?
No, obviously not. And I can tell you, I believe that this would have happened regardless of what Donald Trump actually chose to do, because people like Bernie Sanders are always on the front lines to attack Donald Trump, regardless of whether they actually deep down genuinely agree with his actions or not. The fact is, you said it yourself, this has become very politicized. And just like it might be advantageous for Donald Trump, as Kurt said, it might be very advantageous for those in their own state of California to allow this lawlessness to continue. I think all Americans elected Donald Trump to lead for them. And when their local leadership is not going to respond to actual danger in their streets, the only person we can rely on is Donald Trump. And thank God he's there to lead.
Kurt, your thoughts on Sanders' claims, and we also see Newsom posting on X, these are the acts of a dictator, not a president. More dictator rhetoric that we've spoken about in the past. Is this the moment?
Well, it's highly unusual, again, when you have the governor and the mayor saying we do not require the support for the president to say, well, I think differently, I'm sending in the National Guard. Like you're sending in help that wasn't requested, which is, again, it's just unusual. And it makes you ask the question of why. I also find it really ironic that we hear this president talk about law and order and that no one's allowed to, put their hands on, spit on law enforcement when he was the very president who pardoned those who were part of the January 6th insurrection, who did just those things to United States law enforcement, to Capitol Police, and he gave them a pardon. He called them political prisoners. Any effort to hold those people accountable, he completely wiped away. So you don't get to parade around as the law and order president when every time we open a news story, you're pardoning white-collar criminals left and right. So again, it's the inconsistency that bothers me. I personally believe, listen, if law enforcement says you are illegally here, they have every right to go in and remove you. I have no problem with that. If you attack a police officer, you should be held accountable. But from a political perspective, you cannot be okay with January 6th and then turn around and use the word insurrection right now in Los Angeles and act like you're the person that's going to hold up law and order. It doesn't add up.
Kurt Bardella, Elizabeth Pipko, appreciate you both. Thank you.
Have a good night.
We are.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.